Bing.
Trucks. And today we find ourselves in what appears to be a standoff with an earth mover of some kind. Or backhoe. How are we to escape from this situation?
Well, he doesn't have a driver, so we have a big advantage.
That's true.
We're taking our shit to that place on your screen. Do you know where the destination is?
It's in Hungary.
Yeah.
And
this is what we're taking.
Ooh. That's actually
the twin of our opponent over there.
Yeah, our opponent who is shaming us for taking away his sister, daughter, lover, wife.
I don't actually. Okay, I'm gonna have to.
Whoa, we're starting off in a maze.
Yeah.
This is more gameplay than usual.
Well, there's a map of it.
I know, but what if there wasn't? What if you didn't look at it?
Well,
it would be like playing a pretty bad FPS.
Yes, that's pretty much what it would be like. It would be like I was playing the really bad version of Twisted Metal, or something like that. Interstate 76. Who remembers Interstate 76 in the audience?
Nobody.
No,
there is no audience.
Interstate.
The audience is false.
Oh my God! Look what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's totally just going up and up. I can't just leave it. My headlights would be nice.
Yeah, really. Oh, check it out. There's a little shack.
Oh, I lost the maze. I went the wrong way.
Oh, no.
I thought it was a circle, but it turned out to be a spiral.
This is actually pretty relaxing. I mean, look, this is genuinely an environment where people work and play all day.
Play, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm guessing that if you work in a gravel pit, you probably get up to all sorts of hijinks.
Yeah, like making Larry think you're gonna cave the walls in around him.
Oh yeah, trapping Larry in the death pit. Making gravel angels.
Having gravel fights.
Yeah. Pinning somebody under the shovel of your excavator, like gently, like a mama tiger would pick up her baby by the nape.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's a comforting sort of light pressure that you can do if you're pretty good at it.
Yeah,
it's a team building.
If you're bad at it, then you might
squish somebody. But I mean, that's what makes it part of the team building exercise, right? You got to be able to rely on your fellow shack dwellers.
It's kind of a high stakes thing. This doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't, does it? See, it's a video game.
This is clearly the only exit.
Yeah. We've encountered the first puzzle. Follow the signs. You clearly are supposed to follow the signs.
What if those signs are for people who are coming into the truck zone?
Yeah, that seems likely. Maybe you have to find the NPC who will open the gate. Maybe we have to do a fetch quest.
We have
to bring them 3 barrels.
I need to bring them an old feather.
Ooh. For crafting.
I was just thinking for mysterious, mystical purposes.
Oh,
are you alright?
I'm alright. Josh and I are like, we're coming at this from a disadvantage this week because, you should really just get up ahead of steam and smash through that barrier. There's no 2 ways.
There's no physics. It looks like I'm on the right path.
There we go. You're following the signs.
I really apologize to anybody who's like looking at this right now because of this thing it keeps doing. It's pretty annoying.
Do you think it's your controller? Like,
I don't think so. It doesn't do it with anything else.
Oh man, we need a patch. We need a Euro truck patch.
I honestly, it is a deep mystery to me. Maybe leave us a comment if you know the solution to the deep mystery.
Help us with the deep mystery.
I'll bring you an old feather. For your mystical purposes.
You can use it to tickle a gnome. Anyway, I had started a sentence at some point before we had managed to escape from this.
You were talking about our lack of any kind of.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, there's several kinds of lacks on the table here. There's a lack of sleep, which both Josh and I are suffering from to an almost comical extent right at the moment. There's a lack of subject matter, which is not terribly unusual, but combined with the lack of sleep may cause difficulties.
It may lead to
ultimately
rambling.
Yeah, it may lead to waffling.
It may lead to more travel stories.
Waffles. Yeah, we can. Oh god,
I still don't have any.
I'm out of travel stories.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that to follow back
So
on.
we're gonna have to follow up on other anecjecta.
What's your favorite candy?
Oh, right. That Josh actually proposed this as the subject matter for the last Trucks, I think. Or was it for this Trucks? I was... the whatchamacallit only made it to New York very recently. And I had been a fan of the whatchamacallit.
Oh, that's actually
growing
the
up
name
on the
of
West
it.
Coast. Yeah, no, that's genuinely the name of the thing. It had TV ads on it when I was a kid, at least in Oregon.
Right.
I can remember still the theme song. We could actually discuss what our favorite advertising jingles are. How about that? Do you like that? Do you have a favorite advertising jingle?
I have some that I find the most memorable.
Care to share one
this
of those?
isn't usually directly correlated with how much I like them, but
well, okay, then the most maybe both. Then the most memorable. I mean, that'll eat up.
I'm having trouble thinking of one that I really like, but one that I will remember forever is "Have a good night's sleep on us, mattress discounters."
I like that one a lot.
I guess was that
pretty good. No, I think it may have been local where you come from. Mattress companies tend to have those. It's like that one totally knocked out the mattress jingle that I know right out of my head, but I definitely have one. I like ones that are short and sweet, like American Family Insurance. I like that one a lot. It's back.
Yeah.
Sleep Country USA. Why buy a mattress anywhere else? Ding. There's a little ding after the else. Ding. Yeah. But anyway, whatchamacallits had a song, which I remember, and I won't sing it for you because I think we've already tormented people enough.
No, sing it.
It was very long. It was the length of the entire commercial, so I don't remember the whole thing.
Give me a highlight.
Whatever it is, whatever it was, chewy, crunchy, whatchamacallit.
Nice.
That was a verse. Anyway, so...
This is a nice winding road.
Oh, yeah, no, it's very pretty. I mean, this is why I like hanging out in the expansions, right? They clearly were able to lavish a little bit more challenge on it. It's like this beautiful little town. It fills me with poetical feelings about, want and missed opportunities, these little places, because they have the savor of the real about them, and they also have the savor of the everyday, these people going about their biz in their gravel pits, playfully squishing their collaborators and so forth. But anyway, yeah, I tried to buy one the other day because they finally showed up here in New York, 20 plus years later, and the bodega guy that I was buying it from was like, "What is this?" It was like, you like this? What is this new thing?
It's a whatchamacallit.
It's a whatchamacallit, I told him, and he was like...
I would take offense to that answer.
Yeah.
Even though it's accurate.
Well, I mean, it says it on the candy bar. It's not... He could tell that I'm not, pipping him. I'm not, trying to score points.
Yes, but even so, I would not accept that answer.
He was genuinely confused. This is a bodega in Fort Greene. I like there are different levels of sass that you get at different bodegas.
Right.
Like there's just, and it seems to be constant no matter who is working a given shift. There's just like a sass culture that is pitched to a particular gradient at every bodega.
The bodegas around here often feel rather curt. Whoa! Jesus! Unfortunately, he made his turn perfectly.
Yeah, because he's an unfeeling machine.
That must be how must be how drivers that that encounter me feel.
Wow, so that we broke our immersion in two. Well, you went deeper in. You ascribed human feelings to the bots, and I was like, oh, that's just reminded me that I was a bot after I was rhapsodizing about all these people working in the fields and the gravel pits and in their picturesque little villages out here in Slamensk or whatever the fuck we are. What was I talking about?
The chocolate bar and the bodegas.
Oh, the bodegas around here. Well, I don't know. Maybe they're a bit curt to you. They ain't that curt to me. The guy at the BP station, he gives me a look of I don't know. It's probably mingled. I thought it was contempt initially.
I still think it's that.
You still think it's contempt?
What do you think
the way
it
that
is?
He looks at me. I think that it's.
I mean, he looks at me the same way.
I think that it's. I feel like there's a friendly element to it. I don't feel like it's out and out contempt for our out of control bourgeois snacking. I think that it's like, hey, we're now familiar enough that I'm going to give you a little chin lift.
Maybe.
I'm going to give you a little warmth, a little twinkle in my eye when I see you come in here.
I just feel like he's annoyed to be working there.
No, I mean, who wouldn't be, honestly?
Sure,
but it's like, some people handle that differently, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. That is not a sense that I get from a man.
Well, hell, I'm not Captain Empathy, man.
Right.
I'm not world.
The ones I like the best are the ones with the birds. But, we don't exchange many words or looks.
Yeah, no, he's pretty wrapped up in his own thoughts. Yes. I mean, it's like, there's your dudes who are like, this is my business, it's my family business, this is my stake, and they tend to be pretty happy to be there.
Yeah.
And then there's his kids or his employees who have other lives, and they're like, I cannot believe that we're doing this. There's in our neighborhood, there's like a huge different sort of swathe of like different folks from different backgrounds who are working in these places, and it's like the guy up on the subway, he will like totally be praying when you come in sometimes. He'll have his Quran open and will just like totally be praying to himself, and he won't stop when you walk in.
That's a friendly guy.
Makes sense. Yeah, I like him. It's like there's the guys at the bodega down there, they like slightly shady, but the tough guys.
Yeah.
But they're tough but friendly.
I avoid that place mostly because they don't ever have anything I want, and also because they're so tough.
They
don't
intimidate you?
They don't assail me in any particular way.
They don't assault you when you're walking.
But
you prefer the gentle dad over at food with his cockatiels.
I suppose I do feel slightly unwelcome there, and also they don't sell anything I want. So like it's like, why? How do you run this place like with so few products to choose from?
What do you mean? They've got loads of products. You can buy Milanos.
They don't even have Coke most of the time.
Goldfish crackers.
Aloe
beverages.
What is a bodega without Coke?
A bodega, for those of us who don't feel that Coke is the be all and end all of.
It may or may not be, but it's Coke, and to not have it is
Coke
weird.
is it.
To not have it is weird.
Yeah, well, I suppose you're right.
It makes me feel like it's a front for something.
Well, I mean, I feel like everything on here is a front for something. I mean, the lovely thing about New York small businesses is that they're not even particularly shy about the fact that they're fiddling their taxes.
Yeah.
And they will charge you more if you pay a credit card because they have to report it, not just because there's a credit card fee.
Right.
And there's like 5 bodegas on our block. It's like the one that's actually closed down recently. It's like that one was clearly there was a layer of dust all over everything. Nobody was buying anything from there. Something else was happening. But, it's all part of the delicate ecosystem of this neighborhood, which the best and our compadres have been.
The best vendors in our neighborhood are the pizza guy at SOS.
Well, he grew up here. He left and came back. He
went to the middle school that we live across the street from.
Yeah, and he's and he has he put a beautiful young girl behind the counter who he and his pizza cooks sexually harass just constantly wherever you walk in. Just mid harassment.
Classic Brooklyn.
Classic Brooklyn. I know, it's all in fun. It's all in good fun. Everybody has a laugh. But yeah, no, he's a character.
Yes.
Right. He's a character.
He's fun to talk to. He's friendly. He means very well.
He does. He calls you boss. They all call you boss,
yeah.
Which makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. No, this conversation is pretty vile.
Wow. These are social. These are tenuous social relationships.
It's true, and they're basically the background reality of our days. These are the people who we see.
Yeah.
When we're not closeted in your increasingly mummified room.
But who I was going to say is the best is the dude who runs the sandwich place. I can't remember.
The Turkish sandwich place?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, he's a marvel. He basically runs that place by himself. Which means if you go in there, you can wait an hour and a half because he has to go and turn on the stove and make your food and then come back. And if there's anybody else in there, God help you, because he has to make their food too.
The first time I was in there, his name is Murat, I believe.
Yep, Murat the Turk.
Yeah. He taught me how to order the coffee in Turkish, and he wouldn't let me order it until I pronounced it correctly.
He's a character.
Yeah.
He's a character, and I have not seen him sexually harassing anybody, so
yes, that's a bonus.
He's the good kind of character, too.
Yes.
Now, he seems to be doing all right. I don't go there very often because I don't often have an hour and a half to kill while I wait for somebody to make me a sandwich, but...
Right. I see this from them fairly often.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, I like the tireless, like, immortal lady at Yummy Yummy is pretty sick.
Yeah, but she keeps it running. She really runs that shit.
She runs that shit so hard. Oh, Lordy.
What else has been up besides ordering food from vendors?
The passing of time.
Yeah.
The band is probably called the Copper Look.
Yes.
We came up with that.
Maybe you would care to explain the origin.
Well, I could even read out the origin.
You would have to find it. That might be a little bit of a time-consuming exercise. Probably.
Certainly not going to happen.
Probably
I'm going to do it on my.
All right.
I'm going to do it on my phone.
Okay.
But while I'm doing it on my phone, it's Daniel Carms. It's another Carmsy thing.
You remember Carms? That's the Russian absurdist poet that we talked about way back in the poetry episode.
Right, this is why it's important that you listen to all of these in order, so that we don't, confuse you when we talk about something that we referenced. This is actually like an entire page long.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the many reasons why I wasn't looking for you to read the entire thing.
Fuck off. I wore it for 16 years. Do you understand what that means? To break a watch that for 16 years had been ticking right here under my heart. Do you have a watch?
The copper look is the look you give something when it's falling to the ground and about to break. And in this poem, this look is given between two people, and that's how the character knows that a murder is being planned.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Good name for a rock band. Yeah. It's rock and roll. It's easily misinterpreted. And makes you think maybe we're going to come up dressed like old-fashioned policemen.
Yeah.
And maybe we will, just
that
to throw
copper
people.
Look.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Maybe just to throw people off the scent, we'll come on with bobby hats and batons.
I suggested as an alternative name, which I fully acknowledge is not as good as the copper look, the Sphere's Makarov, which is another Carms reference.
The problem is that it sounds like a dessert.
The Sphere's Makarov?
Yeah, like Cherry's Jubilee, or,
It sounds like a dessert you'd order at like a Star Trek themed restaurant or something.
It's just spheres prepared in the style, or like dedicated to macaron.
I once visited Quark's bar down at the Star Trek Experience in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Did you really?
No longer in business.
Oh, what a shame.
I ordered the rings of Beta Z, which in the lore are not food. Were
they onion rings?
They were onion rings. They asked me how I wanted them replicated. This was a terrible establishment.
Yeah, that sounds pretty
It didn't
terrible.
even really look like Quark's. It was just a bar with the word Quark's over it.
Oh, what a crushing letdown!
And
for
like people in like Federation outfits come to ask you what you want.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, they should be dressed as Ferengi.
God.
But the ride itself is really cool. The ride was great. Have you ever been on the
No.
In Disneyland?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, hey audience, have you ever been
No.
Hey audience. Have you ever been on that Star Wars ride in Disneyland, like the motion simulator, and like while you're lining up it plays this super cheesy like safety video for like how to get in the seat and in an orderly fashion and how to put on your seat belt? And like everybody in the safety video is wearing some Star Wars makeup, so there's the Rodian putting on his seatbelt and all that stuff, and there's C-3PO getting in the ride.
You could probably look this up on YouTube.
Yeah, probably. The Star Trek Experience ride, the first one before it became all Voyager themed. It opened the same way, except while you are watching this video, the room suddenly turns dark. And you feel a wind blow all around you, and you hear the transporter sound effect from the show. And then when the lights come back on, you're standing on the transporter pad on the Star Trek Enterprise D. And the transporter officers are saying, like, we got them. And this whole silly plot unfolds where, like, you go up on a turbo lift to the bridge, and Riker talks to you from the main view screen about how you've been beamed up from the past because of some crazy sci-fi circumstances.
Oh, God, to be welcomed by Frakes. With his big beardy face.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist anymore. You can't experience what I've just described.
Well, I mean, you could experience it just by closing your eyes. And
it wouldn't be the same.
What? Tell that to what's-her-face.
Who?
You know, from episode, from like 2 or 3 episodes ago. You remember. You just have to, like, close your eyes and pretend to be playing the Star Trek experience while your young friend narrates it for you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, that didn't work. I killed it. You were laughing at a thing that I didn't think that I was...
I don't know what's happening anymore. This is cool. I like this
stream. You not remember that bit from the...
No, I really don't.
the Last of Us expansion.
Oh yeah, the arcade game.
What else am I gonna be right?
Yeah, if you'd said if you'd named a character or described the situation, I might have understood.
I'm so sorry. The fact that I couldn't remember what any of their names were because they're all so fucking.
Or what was happening in the scene, or the name of the game, or anything. It was all you just said
was it Virtua Fighter? What was it?
It was a fictional game.
Right? How would I? You don't remember the name of the game.
Street Fighter. You know, if you had said Street Fighter. If you had said, like, the character from the Last of Us playing Street Fighter... You're not helping
me out.
All you'd said was just, like, what's her name when, like, she closed her eyes or something.
Darmak and Shalal. Oh, dear me. Dear me. I'm so sorry. I said Darmak also. It's clearly Darmak.
Hey, you know, it finally happened. We talked about Star Trek.
We did. That just goes to show. We can never upload this.
False.
Yeah, that's true. Is this episode 20?
Yes.
Oh no.
We forgot to do a spectacular.
Oh no. This is terrible. Is this the end for Little Trucks?
No, this is a great episode.
This is just the beginning. So I guess we could talk about nerd culture.
Yeah. Because
I just wrote a big thing about my experiences in various fandoms and self-creating communities. We've touched on this a little bit in the past, but it's like what I wanted to think about in this thing that I wrote, which I basically failed to think about completely, was the relationship between the kind of personal human traits that your standard, like, anime nerds tend to have, and the nature of the communities that they create. And in general, there is, like, a reciprocal relationship between your culture and your personality, right? The culture that you are brought up in and the way that you are, and then the culture that you choose and the way that you turned out to be, which are two distinct things, but you've gone quiet.
Well, you seem to be on a roll.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I'm hoping that you have something to add to this, because I'm going to run out.
But I might.
I'm going to run out of steam very, very soon. And it's like, you know, one of the things that has been a vexing question for me for my life, because I've never been very good at people, you know. And have sort of had to figure that out as I went along. And one of these, as I say, vexing questions has been, what's the deal with these, with what brings these people together and what makes them distinct from people who are not inclined to spend their young lives watching cartoons and so forth.
This may be a tangentially related point.
I hope so.
The project of my life right now is trying to transplant myself into a community that takes video games as seriously as I do, because my MO in life generally with regards to this has been to modify the communities that I find myself in to take video games as seriously as I do, with some success.
Yeah, no, I've certainly been modified.
Yeah. this seems like a skill I have spent a while cultivating because it's kind of a survival mechanism for me. I need the people I'm friends with to understand
that is correct, because he's physically incapable of stopping talking about it for 5 seconds.
Yeah. But it's occurred to me that maybe this is a skill I should put forth in communities that already care.
Yeah. Well, this is a question that is actually very closely related to the one that I was talking about in my little piece. Is that how do you get in to a community that you admire without looking like a putz?
That is a trick, yes.
And without looking like a creeper or a hanger-on.
Yeah.
And my feeling about this, and I feel like this is a relatively obvious answer, but one that somehow managed to elude me for a very long time, was that you've got to yourself do the thing that this community values, and therefore try to attract their notice via your works.
Yes.
Rather than simply by walking up to them and being like, "Hey,
me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
I have some great ideas about the things that you're talking about. I'm
thinking about writing some of them down."
Exactly. Why don't we discuss them? Because that doesn't set you apart much.
Right.
And it's also I think it's just essentially like nearly impossible to open a conversation like that when there is such an imbalance of pre-existing respect,
right,
between you, the anonymous, and them, the established, or at least established in your brain, which is the important thing in terms of setting this tone.
Yeah.
And so you got to go out there and hang out your shingle, I think, rather than simply knock on the doors of that citadel of specific nerds that you want to be in.
That is good advice. Hopefully helpful to someone.
Easier said than done, right? I wanted for so long to be part of like the webcomic artist community, and the fact that I could not.
Yeah, it's a serious tragedy that I'm not Ryan North's best friend.
I know, right? He seems like such a cool guy.
Yeah.
Particularly just, like I don't want to have to share him with everybody else on the internet. I want him to have I want him to be the kind of guy who would trade his credit card with me so that we could make crazy purchases with each other's money and then make a Tumblr about it.
Or write fake book covers about one another.
I know, God, his friendships look so cool, don't they?
They are friendships that are expressed through creative output.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about him and his friends.
That's brilliant, right?
Yeah. And that's why they're all brilliant people.
And they're all creative, and they all make stuff, and it's like... And yet what we are critics, Josh and I. Critics.
Well, my stance on that is that criticism is its own creative work in a way.
Absolutely.
Especially the good stuff. Everyone can do a really rote review about things, pros and cons, but the best critics, they elevate.
They elevate, they educate, they inform. They have delightful prose stylings. They make you feel like you're smarter than you are.
Yes.
That's the good thing to do with your review.
Yes. How do you think that's best done? Do you think that's best done by making it feel like they've had the idea, or just saying, look at this idea we can share, that you can share with me, this really clever idea?
It's an interesting question. This is something that I honestly have no idea how to do, which is kind of a problem for me, is that what you want to do ideally is that you want to say things that are smart and non-obvious, but you also don't want to be incomprehensible.
Right.
Then the thing about saying stuff that's smart and non-obvious is that you do... Jesus Christ, this is so ugly. That you do need to have some... you need to be referential. You need to have some sort of library of things that are pre-existing that you can draw upon,
right?
Because you can't like build an interesting argument essentially from scratch over the course of a game review.
Yeah.
And that means that it will, to some degree, be exclusive.
Yeah.
Exclusionary. And the difficulty is to make, but the people who catch on and who are able to follow what you're doing are going to feel better about it, and they're going to feel like they're part of, that they're part of this feeling of understanding the way that we do when we look at these reviews that we dig. Mm-hmm. Because there is a certain hump that you've passed over to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so I think the trick of being a really good reviewer is to feel is to give the feeling to the reader that you're doing something tricky and difficult, that they're that they are cool for understanding.
Yeah.
While at the same time having it not actually exclude very many people.
Yeah.
If you can possibly manage that. And that's a tough balance to strike.
I think the methodology I've landed on for doing that sort of thing is to start off by trying to make eloquent some things that probably most people kind of felt but perhaps didn't know how to express perfectly. And then follow that up with your own more original thinking. That's actually
a really good point. There is definitely a feeling of
that's exactly what I've thought. Thank you for putting that into words.
Yeah, I mean, there's a feeling. I mean, both on the reader's part and on the. I've gotten comments like that, which feel really nice. There's a feeling of real satisfaction both on the writer's and the reader's part to have because something that most people already understand, you can feel it slotting in place in a really nice way when you write it.
Yeah.
And to be okay, we're going to restate the obvious here, but we're going to do it with flair.
Right.
And making the jumping off point then into your more esoteric thinking is doesn't feel as forbidding because you've already established this sort of
it kind of it creates a rapport.
Yeah, you've already established this sense of mutual understanding, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
I think
that's what all my favorite reviews and things do.
This has been just a dismal ride. I mean, we had a couple of moments of beauty, but then
it's always
there was sunrise and then it started to rain. It always rains in Hungary. That's the truth.
You can actually turn up and turn down the frequency of rain in this game.
Oh boy, I would be tempted to just turn
it off.
No. Make it rain all the time.
Oh, but then you don't get all the pretty.
I know, but then you can pretend that you're that guy from Dirk Gently.
Oh, the Long Dark Tea Time.
The rain god.
Yeah.
I've been feeling Douglas Adamsy lately.
Yeah, I should reread Dirk Gently. We should all reread Dirk Gently. Let's have a book club thing for Dirk Gently.
That would be a lot easier than the book clubs that
that you're involved with.
Yeah.
Shut up, windscreen wipers. So guys, we just watched a movie. You want to hear about it?
Yeah, let's talk about this. I mean, we'll talk about this pretty briefly, probably, because it's. I mean, the interesting thing about this movie is mostly how banal it is.
Yeah, the interesting things about this movie are extrinsic to the movie.
Yeah.
We just watched Free to Play, Valve's movie about Dota professional players, Dota players professional.
Yeah, Dota being a game called Defense of the Ancients, which is now the world's premier e-sport.
Some would say. Including myself, but not everybody.
There are other contenders for this title.
Yeah.
And it also one of the interesting things about this film to me was that it reminded me that it really depends on what country you happen to be living in. What the premier e-sport is. There are different countries have different national pastimes in the e-sport thing. And backing up yet another rung, just for the benefit, an e-sport is a online multiplayer game that is sufficiently complex and requires sufficient skill that you can have extremely high level players who play extremely high level tournaments for very large purses.
Yeah, they seem to generally occur in the first-person shooter and real-time strategy worlds, which is curious. Ain't no professional Civ players.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's... the thing about Civ is that it has an element of dice rolling. And generally, the ones that become very popular are the ones where randomness doesn't play as much of a role.
Yep.
So anyway, yes. So this is a documentary about essentially about the first international Dota tournament, which had a purse which dwarfed all previous purses for such events.
The prize for winning first place in this tournament was
$1 million. Yeah. And there were teams that attended this event from all over the world, from China, from Singapore, from the Ukraine, from Russia. The interesting thing about this movie is that it was essentially just a sports movie.
Yeah, what it did was it
documented... this was entirely intentional on Valve's part, I'm sure.
It documented the narratives of 3 particular players going to this tournament and like just what was on the line for them in their personal lives and the process of wins and losses through the tournament, the drama of some particularly decisive matches.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same. I mean, it the angle of it being like a thing that people don't really understand, particularly parents just don't understand. I mean, helped with this, but it was really. I mean, but the thing is that the stakes are not very different from like somebody who wants to be a professional athlete.
Right.
You know, it's like an enormous amount of sink of time and effort and energy with potentially high-level results, but you're almost certainly not going to actually make it.
Right, and the documentary does confront the reality that, unlike a real, professional sports player, an esports athlete has to be the best before they see any reward.
Yeah.
And, there's an undercurrent to the movie of, this is...
I mean, at this point, it's like, I imagine that will probably
There's an undercurrent to the film of, this is a developing scene.
Right, and it's like in China already, I feel like you have pro teams and, people who are on salaries.
Yeah, it seems, it's weirdly, America is the place where this is all kind of the smallest. It's pretty big in Asia, it's kind of big in Europe. In America, it's a niche thing.
It's niche.
Yeah. I wonder why. Why do you think that is?
Why do I think it's a niche thing?
In America.
I mean, I think it's...
Can we diagnose this at all?
Well, I mean, I actually can to a certain extent. I mean, it's like I think that in Asian countries there's more of a sort of history of very sort of skill-based tournament-style games. I mean, huge ping-pong stuff.
Yeah, that was a funny moment where
the guy from the Chinese team was like, "It's
a real sport, just like ping-pong or tennis or
chess." Right. So.
Yeah.
So I think that there's whereas we in the States have tended to be more interested in sports that require a great deal of physical strength and
Spartan brute gladiatorial
nonsense
prowess.
The sort of the national sports of Asian countries have tended to be less based on that, which might help that. There's also the fact that there's also just economic variance. There's more of an understanding that you can play video games for money in China, I think, because of gold farming and various other things that it's a way to directly access the Western economy, and so it can be an economic mover in a way that it ain't here. I mean, most of the countries that fielded the impressive teams here are ones which are not as rich,
right,
as Western Europe and America. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's also there's just more of our jock nerd split in this country is a little bit more pronounced, perhaps.
Our nerdy jocks play Call of Duty.
Yeah, except for
sometimes pretends to be an esport.
Yeah, but isn't.
No.
Yeah, there is. That actually you may have put your finger on it. It's like the serious sports guys are not going to be interested in playing as a magical fairy dragon.
No, they should
in America. Whereas
they do like playing as the Master Chief. He's probably a magical fairy dragon
under his helmet. Yeah, he's probably an elfin lass. But you see what I mean there.
Yeah,
it's like the culture of...
We like our shit martial.
Yeah, the culture of cute and cuddly is nearer the surface in a lot of these other places.
Yeah. And that's probably why League of Legends is so... Well, it arguably isn't bigger than Dota anymore, but it reports numbers that are higher than Dota's. And it's got the machismo main character guys all over the place, and it's got the busty, like, Escher girls.
Right.
And besides that, it's mostly just Dota.
Right. It's a rebranding that's more to the taste of our local cheese bots.
Yes. Whereas Dota is like almost insistently tasteful.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful and sparkly.
Yes. Colorful.
And
the cool thing about Dota,
the decisive blow in the decisive match of this tournament was in fact
a sparkly fairy dragon
spitting
up a big sparkle ball and flying it over to the enemy team and wrapping them all up in a dream coil.
Yeah. that was the $1 million maneuver by Nendi of the Ukraine.
The dream coil. Yeah. The cool thing about Dota is that, and this is also the cool thing about other seriously complicated multiplayer games with a learning curve, is that as you learn Dota, you kind of learn a language. It's
just true of most sports, I think.
Yes, but it's a field of expression in a way. You know, I can say the sentence like, you obviously don't build a blink dagger on Witch Doctor, even if you want to do his ulti like in a surprise initiating fashion, and like someone will understand why I'm saying that and will probably strongly disagree, or like
it's all sports to me, man.
Yeah, I guess it is pretty similar to sports in that way, but it unlike sports, there are so many options in a given game. It is so chaotic and multifaceted.
It's kind of like football.
Listen, you can't build Heaven's Halberd in football.
Yeah, you can like.
Football doesn't have 100 different rules for you to play.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
There
are more than 100 different players, and they all have unique abilities.
Yes, but it's.
I know. I'm just. I'm being a grouch. Not being a grouch. I'm twitting you intentionally.
I mean, you're encouraging me to put my finger more concretely on what I'm saying here, but I'm struggling to come up with the correct terms.
All right, put your finger on it.
I'm still struggling.
Put your finger on it, Josh.
There is an arcane element to Dota that doesn't exist in football.
Okay. Like literally magical.
No, like that you could write a 1,000-page book on the basics of Dota.
Yes. Which is, it's
not the strategies, but the content.
The content, exactly. Which is I mean, in tournament play, this boils down a little bit. I mean, the highest levels of people aren't going to be drawing from all 100 heroes. There's going to be...
you do see crazy shit happen. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing's really out of the question. Like, in the last International, there were moments where it's like, oh, they're putting Omni Knight in mid. That doesn't happen. And
what?
They didn't win as a result of this. They lost. The Omni Knight mid meta died a young death, I'm afraid. But things are tried. But I think the winning strategy was actually performing fountain hooks, which they all thought was so improbable that it didn't need to be patched out. But Navi actually won a series of games by doing this glitchy thing called the fountain hook, where one hero that can send out a butcher's hook that grabs an enemy player and pulls him in. Works in conjunction with another friendly hero who can teleport the hero with the hook back to home base, where there is an immortal, highly dangerous stationary turret, essentially. And it requires some ace timing, and if you fail, then all you've done is send like your big hook-oriented fighter back to base alone for no reason. But if you do it, then you actually send the enemy player back to your fountain to die.
Right.
Like, and there's just nothing he can do about it besides dodge the hook. And after Na'vi worked their way up to, I think they got second place in this international, Valve patched that shit out. So things, shit happens. It's a game where things are always being discovered. Oh, I remember they found a video where there's a glitch that you can actually do some weird interactions to move the Ancient, the goal of the game. This is the structure your team is trying to destroy, into the fountain, so that it's basically impossible to reach. And that never got used in a tournament. I don't think that would have flown with the referees or whatever.
Right.
It's in the game, and I think after it was discovered, players started doing it online for a few hours before Valve was like, nope.
that actually brings up what I feel is maybe one of the interesting things that separates an esport from a sports sport is that while there are major sports leagues and sometimes major competing sports leagues in the sports field,
right?
Dota is and will forever be owned by Valve.
Yes.
Valve can unilaterally change they're obviously limited by the forbearance and attention of their players, but
there is one person who has the final call on all that stuff. In fact, Ice Frog, as he is known.
This guy and also that this sport was invented by somebody who we know who he is, and B, his name is Ice Frog.
Yeah.
But that the governing body of this game embodies the game, and
markets it to the end consumer,
right?
Not in terms of software licensing, but in terms of in-game items.
And so, thus, if Dota 2, the other thing about esports, of course, is that just the continuing movement of technology does mean that, past pache like StarCraft,
right?
There will be we will not be still playing Dota 2 in 100 years the way that we're still playing baseball 100 years after it was invented.
Right, but we may be playing something which is a descendant of Dota.
Right. The fact that as long as we're playing this game, Valve will make money from every single.
Yeah, it's crazy how much money they're making. But I think this is all. I think ultimately
making Gabe Newell a very happy man.
Ultimately, the
inventor
film
of Half-Life Portal 2 Incorporated. Happy time. Anyway,
ultimately, I think the film is correct that this is undeniably the whiff of the future.
It's undeniably the whiff of the future, ladies and gentlemen.
We're getting a whiff of the future.
Yeah.
It's libertarian sports essentially.
Except that it's owned lock, stock, and barrel by a giant corporation.
That's what I feel makes it libertarian.
Da-da!
Yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
I don't really...
We made a topical joke there.
I don't understand. Whatever. Whatever, man.
Never mind. I was making... Oh, God. That wasn't the camera. That was the truck.
I ran over a street sign. I hope you all noticed.
Yeah. Well, that worked out all right.
Yeah.
We found a few things to talk about. Thankfully, we didn't talk too long about the thing
Star Trek.
I was thinking I was going to talk about. Yeah, Star Trek is pretty good. I like Neelix.
Yuck!
That's a big yuck for Neelix.
Does Neelix have a last name? No, he's just Neelix.
He's just Neelix.
The morale officer.
Yeah.
With unfettered access to the bridge. He can come up on the bridge and ask them if they like his new soup recipe.
He's a Talaxian from the planet Talax.
I think it's Tarlax. A Tarlaxian.
No, it's
if
not.
I'm not mistaken. Oh, Tarlax. All right.
Yeah, check it out. I've got his Wikipedia article up here. He's originally from Rhinax, actually, which is a moon of the planet Talax.
Oh, fascinating.
Although his great-grandfather was Mylian.
Where's that?
Oh,
so hang on. He's not full Talaxian?
I'm going to have to check. His entire family was killed in conflict with the Iconian Order, and this forever haunts him.
The Iconian Order?
Yeah. Hang on.
The Iconians, I think, are a thing in TOS.
Yeah, check it out. List of Star Trek races.
Christ.
This article has some issues.
Does it?
Yes, it does.
Is that what Wikipedia's telling you?
Yeah, it is absolutely.
What kinds of issues?
I don't know. Let's find out. Neelix also has some issues.
Did you know there's not one, not two, but like 3 Star Trek wikis, which are supposed to have a different relationship to being an internal, like, in-universe document?
Yep. I did know that.
I wonder which one's the nerdiest.
I don't know. I feel like I'm the nerdiest, probably.
You're not the nerdiest.
You're right.
You don't edit Memory Alpha, which is the nerdiest. Okay, fuck. This is a particularly difficult.
Are you giving up already?
I can't do it.
All right. Well, that was pretty good.
Excellent.
I can't pronounce either of the cities that we either came from or went to that time, which is pretty good.
Wroclaw.
I mean, almost certainly Wroclaw.
Debrecen.
Wroclaw or something like it. But
what's the latter one?
I have no idea how to pronounce Debrecen.
You're not about to look that up, are you?
I think I might be. I mean, you could probably end the video before I get there.
No, we're going to wait.
All right. We're going to learn something about the Hungarian city of... nicknames the Calvinist Rome.
Oh.
That's exciting. Hang on.
He's listening to it.
Debrecen.
Debrecen.
Debrecen.